Mr. Duncan?
Present.
Mr. Anthony?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Ms. Richards?
All right, first item on the agenda is to discuss and review our accounts payable check register for the period between May 16, 2023 and June 15, 2023. Members should have received a copy of that register. Do any members of the committee have any questions for Mr. McNeely regarding the check register? Any other members of the board have any questions or comments? Mr. McNeely, you have anything you want to note about the check register?
I do not.
All right, there's no action to take on that agenda item. So next, we'll move on to discussion of the year-to-date budget and actual comparison schedule. Mr. McNeely, you have anything to note regarding?
Just note that the financials are through May 31st, and we're currently working to close out June 30th. Once that's done, I will bring them to you. The first column is your original budget. The second column is the proposed amended budget, and then you can see the actuals. And as has been the case, we did much better with interest income this year than was earlier projected, thanks to the Federal Reserve raising interest rates probably 6 times this year. So page 1 is your general fund, and then page 2 is the capital projects fund, which is where all of the IDA repairs and the phase 1 is currently being paid through there.
Any members of the committee have questions regarding the year-to-date schedule? Any other members of the board? Hearing none, there's no action to take on that agenda item. We'll move on to consider approval. Agenda item C, consider approval of the low quote for 82 water coolers for schools. That low quote coming in from Louisiana Plumbing in the amount of $35,473.20.
These are to replace water fountains with the kind where you can put a bottle underneath it. If you've seen those, it has a filter built in, and we are being able to pay for this with ESSER funds. So I'd ask your approval a little bit.
So I'll receive a motion to approve the administration's recommendation. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion is made.
Second.
Motion is made by Mr. Anthony, seconded by Mr. Moore. Any discussion on the motion?
I have a question.
Ms. Dominguez.
So I see all of our schools are not listed. I do know Champ Cooper's not listed. I do know Champ Cooper's PTA last year bought some of those. So why do we not do it at everybody's school?
They already have them.
If they already have them, they're not listed?
Right. These are buying new ones.
Okay, yeah, because, I mean, I know the PTA at Champ Cooper bought theirs for them.
I got you.
So they spend their PTA funds, but now we're spending our, in other words, we're spending our funds to help them, but the Champ Cooper's PTA already spent their funds to buy their own.
Well, these are ESSER funds. This is not.
Well, does the new campus that Champ Cooper got have the newer coolers already
Yeah.
installed in them?
Yeah, they do.
Okay, so they got some.
Yeah, they got some.
Okay.
They got some in that part, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr.
I do have a point as well. I know the filters on these things are tremendously expensive. Have you priced those by any chance?
Not at this job, but yes, in my previous life, we have those, and we tend to. Do you have pricing on the filter? Terry was moving, so I thought he may have it.
I don't really need to know the cost necessarily. I'm wondering if we can just order a whole bunch of them also with ESSER funds.
I'm sure
No?
so.
Okay. I mean, it's probably something we should look into.
Okay.
All right, I was just, Mr. Dominguez, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, but that, I mean, that's, and the new building is totally different from the old building. I'm just saying the PTA really raised funds to buy water coolers, and now we're giving away water coolers, and they had to spend their money on that. They could have, I mean, it's kind of like, I'm just saying, maybe they could get something back. If they didn't get water coolers since they already got them, that we can maybe help them do something else.
I did have a question. I see LaRonde Elementary on here, but not the middle or the high. Did we do an assessment to make sure that those schools have the adequate stations as well?
Terry, do you want to speak to that? Did we assessed all the schools?
Yeah, the foreman went out and had the schools assessed to fountains that were actually broken and were not operating in any capacity, and this is the list that they came back with. So these were the ones that we ordered for the first go-round. It doesn't mean that we're not going to look, because I would like to have all of our fountains to have the bottle fillers.
Right.
And our old, and a lot of them are old, they're just hanging on. So we do intend to replace those as well. But these were the ones that were turned off during COVID. And then when everything was turned back on, because COVID's over with, and we were supposed to turn fountains back on, these did not operate at all. So
Okay.
these needed to come off the wall and a new one hung on. And putting the bottle fillers up there is a more economical way to go.
Is that,
So OW Dillon too.
is that due to sediment clogging up the lines or what?
I didn't look inside of them, but they were just, when you press the button for them to work, they didn't work. So we didn't investigate it any further other than they were broken.
Well, if we're going to make the commitment to put these in the schools, I would like some of these school assessment to be made pretty quick to see if we can maybe do this at all of them while we have the funds.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Terry, let me ask a question, another question. Are these fountains, do they come with filters? Exchange of filters that can be exchanged? I mean, can be swapped out?
Yes.
They do.
Yeah,
They have a replaceable water filter that goes in the system, kind of like you would have at your refrigerator.
Right, so are we also getting filters so that we can actually do this replacement? Is there a manufacturing?
they come with the bottle, the unit comes ready to install, but as was suggested, we're going to purchase some filters to have them on the shelf. So based on sediments, some may clog faster than others, so we'll have them on the shelf ready, available. We can do that.
Any other questions from the committee? Any questions from other members of the board? Is there any public input on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the questions. Ask member to vote your machines.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
All right, next item on the agenda is an update on sales tax revenue from Mr. McNeely.
I forwarded you the report that we receive from the Sales Tax Commission each month, and you can see for the year, sales tax wound up being down about 1%, but was still within the budget that you adopted. And I mean, for that month, I'm sorry. For the year, it wound up being down about 0.44, which I consider to be a win, considering the bubble that we've been under economically with COVID and Hurricane Ida. Quite honestly, I expected a larger decrease.
And then the budget that you're preparing for next year,
Flat.
are we just doing a flat? Okay. Are there any questions from the committee regarding the update on sales tax? Any questions from other members of the board? There's no action to be taken on this agenda item. We'll move to our final agenda item, which is to consider approval to adopt the annual updated IRS travel reimbursement schedule. Mr. McNeely?
So, as you know, every year the travel reimbursement at the state changes. The mileage reimbursement, the hotel room rates, and we ran into some issues this year. So I'm not asking you to do anything tonight, but I'm kind of one of the wishes of the board. At the parish, what we did was we just adopted a simple, whatever the IRS reimbursement is, that's what we do. And so when you even have a mid-year change due to gas prices going up, inflation with hotel rooms, and what the IRS has is specifically if you're going to go stay in Cleveland, there is a per diem rate and a hotel rate for Cleveland. And if you're in New Orleans or if you're in different places, and we've run into that a few times this year with people staying in high-cost areas, that the per diem wasn't adequate for the hotel rooms in that city. So if it's something you would be interested in, I would be willing to work toward that.
So in the past, we've adopted the state per diem rate, or what have we done different than that in the past?
Each year, you're having to adopt the updated rates. So for instance, mileage changed from
62.5.
62.5 to 65.5 July 1st. But we haven't adopted that yet because
I see. So in
So
the
it-
past, we've adopted the per diem each year and the mileage each year, and you're saying, let's just adopt it and say we're gonna, from this point forward, just, it's gonna be whatever the IRS does.
Whatever the IRS reimbursement rate is, that's what we follow.
And so when do you think you'll bring that to us, or how do you,
I can come back with it at the next meeting if that's what you want to do.
but is that y'all's recommendation?
That's the recommendation.
Okay. So is there a motion from the committee to adopt the administration's recommendation, or do y'all want to table this over? All right. All right. Motion is made by Mrs. Richards, seconded by Mr. Moore. Is there any discussion from the committee? Any questions from other members of the board?
Oh, Ashley.
Ms.
So if you can send it to us right away, and then also the state, so we can compare the two, would that be possible?
Yes, ma'am.
And then we can know better when we come next week what we want to do.
The state and the IRS are the same.
Got it.
Y'all just they don't have as many cities, and it changes every year, so you're having to adopt it every year instead of just saying, we're just gonna mirror whatever the IRS rate is. But I'll get both of those to you, and we just need to research and see in policy where that language needs to go.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any public input on the motion? Hearing none, we'll call the question. Ask members to vote your machines.
Voting is open. Voting is closed. Motion passes unanimously.
Can we ask a question, Brett?
Mr. Mingus for a question.
Just was curious where we were with our new financial secretaries in place and the Kev, is it Kev? Kev, where are we at with all that? How's that coming?
I'm going to ask Ms. Deborah to kind of give you an update on just what we have coming up. I know there's some meetings.
You gotta go
Come up
to
here
the
so that you
microphone.
get some meetings coming up.
We have training tomorrow with the financial account clerks. Michelle is the one that's doing the training. They're training tomorrow and training all day Friday. So they're ready to go with training, and they're able to, I'm meeting with principals. I met with principals all day today. Every day this week, I'm meeting with principals. By the end of Friday, I will have talked to all the principals, and they're ready to start ordering.
Okay, so are they gonna put, could you just give us a brief explanation of what is the Kev, whatever? Is that the program that's gonna take all the student fees, the lunch fees, extra
Not
fee,
lunch.
everything? So it
Not
won't go
lunch.
in like what we had now? That's,
What you have right now, or what you had last year, was called ESR, if I'm not mistaken. It was a software-based program that was on the computer. This is an internet-based software. So the way it works is our district, or really Michelle, who's over the financial account clerks, sets up everything on there. And yeah, the students are now, or the parents are now able to go on. All the students have been rolled over. Mike Diaz helped us do that. And parents can go in there and start paying fees.
okay. So we
And
just,
we've already collected fees already.
okay. That's
And
good.
then the second portion of it is what we call the cashless system. That portion is for student fees, T-shirt, anything they're going to sell or collect money at the school. The second portion is for athletic events. Parents can do the exact same thing. We'll set up the games and ticket prices and stuff on there. They can buy them ahead of time. They'll get an email saying, you've purchased 4 tickets. They go to the gate. They have these little thing called clovers. They scan it, and it automatically says, yes, you have these tickets.
And that'll cover like the student insurance fees and any fee they have to pay will go into that?
The student insurance fee was included in the student fees that we
Fee.
charge.
Okay.
This year, we did 15 for the elementary and junior highs, and we did 20 for the high school 5 of those dollars out of each one of those is going to pay the student insurance fees,
Okay.
district-wide.
So what happens if someone comes to the football game that's from Mandeville or Fontainebleau and they haven't bought a ticket at the,
Well, we're not cashless. We're not cashless at all.
not this year?
No,
Would-
not this year, and we
okay.
may not get to be this
Okay,
year.
okay.
I do know that I met with Kentwood High's principal today, Sharice Baptiste, and she's basically wanting to go completely cashless. She's excited about it and wants to, so she may be our pilot on seeing how cashless works. But
I'm
she
just
has
curious, so if
gone-
we do go, I know we had said we weren't doing it this year, we would try to phase in and get to a better point of that. But I was just curious, what would a person do that would come from Fontainebleau High to watch a football game and they didn't know you had to buy a ticket ahead of time and they don't have a credit card or anything, what would they do?
Then they would have to go, if, this year, they would just go to the ticket gate and pay cash for it, the same way we have in the past.
They probably have a QR code, you can scan it, and like Venmo, and pay it right there.
Or if they walked up to the gate with a credit card or a debit card, the Clover, which is a wireless, they'll be able to swipe it the same way you swipe it at a grocery store or anything like that.
But my concern is the ones who may not have that at all. I mean,
Well, we're not going to that this
yeah,
year.
yeah.
So right now, I don't think that's really
Okay,
a concern.
that's good.
I do have a question.
Anybody else?
Yeah, what about security-wise? Did Mr. Diaz set up where we can't get hacked on any of this stuff? I mean, with our system before, is everything, our firewalls all put in place where none of this stuff can get hacked? Because that's not going to
Mr.
just...
Diaz was in on the planning period. Now, that was all done before I got here. But Mike has assured us that, I mean, I would think that if he's assuring that that's been done for the schools, and he's been doing it for the school district, that he will make sure, especially what y'all went through in 2019.
Right,
sure that
because
that-
it's not going to be just our money that we have to worry about. It's going to be parents' credit cards and
I
debit cards
agree.
that they're going to have to worry about as well.
I agree.
And just for my information, do we have any fees associated with these charges? I know when you go to a restaurant or something and they have Square or whatever, there's a fee. We're eating that, or are we charging that to the
We
consumer?
are this year to try to get parents to
use it.
take part in it, because we felt like if we didn't eat that fee, then what would happen is parents would be more likely to not take part in it.
You know, well, I guess it depends on how many. Will we get an annual report at the end of the year of how much that fee calculated to?
We'll have probably a monthly report that we'll be able to look
Beautiful.
at.
Thank you.
And
I think it
it's
was
gonna
it was a
depend
smart.
on how much.
I think we should have ate it anyway. So, I just
Well,
was
do
curious
know
on the
that
budget
there's,
side.
Parishes that have gone completely cashless.
Mm-hmm.
Ascension has gone cashless. So I think it's a great idea. I just think we have to take into consideration, at each one of the schools that I talked to today, they decided that what they're gonna do at their meet and greet is have a computer so where parents can go and automatically go in and sign up for it. One of the great things about it too is that if they wanna write a check, they can write a check, or they can use their check, their routing number, their account number, and it automatically scans it, and when it puts it in the system, it checks it for NSF.
Beautiful. Now, who will have access to that on the campus-wide? Is it just the principal, or?
You're talking about what?
So like if I have a discretion, let's say a parent says, oh, I paid them fees, who's going to be able to pull that up and say whether they did or not? Can the principal do that? Does everybody in the
Probably
main
the financial
office?
account clerk will be able to do that.
Okay.
We haven't really looked at the back end of it yet, because we haven't had anybody up and running
Right.
on it. Now, we'll tell you, Punchatoula High used Kev all last year, and they used, and Laranja High School used Kev all last year. But they didn't use the Clovers, like your games and
Yeah.
stuff like that. So we'll have to see how those.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just one more thing then, Ms.
Yes.
Everett, while what he said about the fees. So just say, for instance, if Punchville High's at the gate and there's a fee, will that be less money that the football team will get because we're covering it? Or is the system going to cover the fee and that people will still get their amount of money? Where's the fee taken from?
It's taken
The
from-
3%, like, you understand what I'm asking? Like, is the
It's probably
football
just
team
like
going to get their full
exactly
amount?
The
Or-
same way it's being taken when you use your credit card or something like that, but instead of it being charged to the customer, it's being charged to the holder, which would be
But that's
us.
what I'm saying. So in other words, the football people or the basketball people won't get as much money, or will the school system not get as much money?
What we had looked at was the school system was going to.
And not,
But if it
not
was-
hinder the sporting event because that's their gate.
I mean, until we figure, as far as we look at that, we were looking at as far as when whoever negotiated it, it says that we were, as far as the central office will.
Yeah, well, I'm just,
But if they're
That's-
saving, if the football program is saving money on less fraud,
well, yeah, but if they're
3%
counting,
would
if
be very
they're,
easily.
but if they're counting on X amount of numbers coming in the gate at X amount of dollars to pay all the football referees or whatever, and then we're taking 3% of every ticket sale,
Yeah, but
that's a
3%.
whole, that's a
No,
whole
we're not-
question
but
that
we're
people
not
are gonna
doing that.
ask.
That's 3% on top of theirs.
Yeah.
So we're not taking it out of their $10.
Okay.
Okay, so it's being charged on top of that, so they're not getting,
I know the customer's not, but I'm wondering if the
no, I
football
understand.
programs are gonna
Football
be,
program's
or
not going
whoever.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah, basketball is not going to.
Yeah,
We're gonna make sure that when we put their ticket price in, that that's what they're going to get.
okay, that's
And
what I
it'll
want.
transfer, and what happens is it transfers straight into the account.
Okay.
And it goes straight into the athletic account for football
Okay,
at that time. And we will be able to reconcile what cash was taken, how many tickets we've set into place. Just like for ticket sales, we will reconcile the tickets that were sold with cash. We will reconcile the tickets that were sold with the CAD, and they have to match.
okay. Well, yeah, because those are questions that we're getting, So that's good. Thank you for
I think
explaining
it's gonna
it
help
Yeah.
with making sure all the money gets.
where it's supposed to be. Yeah, I just didn't want it to short our sporting event people.
All right, Finance Committee meeting is adjourned.